is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insider's Current Events. I'm Dan Mirade, along with Mr. Southern Connecticut himself, Matt Degnan. Hopefully his socks are doing well as we wind down the summer. Today you get two for the price of one as we look at both the September 23rd, 2020 WWE NXT and AEW Dynamite programs. I don't know how Dynamite either one of them were, but that is at the viewer's discretion. It's all about personal opinion, and we're all entitled to one. Matt, what do we have going on coming out of Full Sail University, WWE NXT on the USA Network?
NXT was not that great last night, but as we always do, is we'll break it down. What opened the show was a women's battle royal. Candice LeRae ended up being the last woman standing and earned the right to face Io Shirai for the NXT Women's title at NXT TakeOver on October 4th. What did you think of that opening battle royal from the women?
Well, if it was available on pay-per-view, I'd call and order it now. I was so excited. You know, again, it just seems like it's coming across to hammer, but it seems like nowadays on television shows, everybody wants to capture the best of every WrestleMania with, you know, the facial expressions and the 2 9/10 kickouts. Or in the example of this battle royal, you had, you know, everyone wanted to be Kane and Kevin Nash to see who could eliminate the most women. You have others trying to do the Kofi Kingston Royal Rumble ripoff spot. So now you've gone from the WrestleMania type finishes to now even in battle royals, they try and take from the best of Royal Rumbles and put them on free TV shows that'll be forgotten about next week, as opposed to some of the great pay-per-view moments that live on year after year in video montages and WWE Network watches and so on and so forth. So I really wasn't impressed. I couldn't imagine there could have been much that would have gone on in a women's battle royal that would have impressed me, since it's harder for them to try and get the ladies over the top rope. But they all tried hard. It was just something I had zero interest in watching.
They just do too much on free TV, giving away, you know, either big spots or stuff that you could see on a pay-per-view, and they're just doing it for free. Just
not just that, but I mean, in one 2-hour show, you had 3 gimmick matches. I mean, so which one of them is supposed to stick in your memory at the end of the show? Because no one's going to remember everything that took place over 2 hours. But in this, you had 2-hour show, 3 gimmick matches, and it speaks for itself with the quality of the show at the end of the day.
What do you think of Candice LeRae facing Io Shirai at NXT TakeOver?
Not much.
Well, Candice LeRae was actually my pick to win the Battle Royal before it started.
Well, that's why they call you Joe Scoops, I guess.
Yeah.
You should be out in Vegas setting the lines for the sporting games, not trying to pick who's going to win the NXT Women's Battle Royal.
No, I already do my betting from home.
I know that.
Yeah. And then in the next match, Tommaso Ciampa defeated Jake Atlas. Match was about 5 minutes long, and Ciampa still should have won in quicker time. I thought, you know, for a former champion, I believe multi-time champion, to beat Jake Atlas, a nobody, I think 5 minutes is still too long for that. I mean, you know, Ciampa's probably one of the top 3 guys on NXT and one of the more well-known people in all of WWE.
I certainly wouldn't go that far.
Well, to the fans.
Are you kidding me?
He's a fan favorite.
Maybe to the NXT crowd. There's people that watch the regular mainstream shows that wouldn't have a clue who he was if he crossed the street.
Well, I'm saying the regular wrestling fans that watch all of the shows. Well, he's one of the favorites.
All right. I'll go with that, yeah.
I still think he should have won in quicker time. I mean, Jake Atlas really has nothing to his name, especially to a basic viewer. They don't know who he is. And Ciampa, he's on almost all of the posters, all of the promotional videos, and you know, he's almost always in the main event of TakeOver the past couple of years. It took him that long to beat, you know, a nobody.
Well, it's someone that they're trying to build up, obviously. I mean, he went over decisively. He did everything right that he should do. He looked like, acted like, and wrestled like a professional wrestler. He's one of the best in 2020 that does that. He got the win, clean as a heel can get it. You know, he didn't make Jake Atlas look like a complete jobber, which is good. It was nice to see something that resembled a wrestling match instead of all the gimmick matches. I thought that was actually probably the best part of the show.
It was a good match. I just think some of the stuff in it should have went a little quicker, you know, especially when Champa hit the something bell, Widow's Bell or something like that off the ropes, and then he went to go pin him and then picked him back up and then went for the fairy tale ending. Just put him away, you know? I don't know. And then in the next little segment, Rich Holland promo, it was a little video. It was pretty good. Showed a background to his character and what he was capable of. You never really see that too much anymore of a promotional video or a background to someone's character. You know, there's really no layers to characters anymore and what their backgrounds are.
Yeah, I'm big on those short profile pieces if they accomplish something, and that one did.
I like where they showed him as a former rugby player and just running over people and
big
tackling.
rugby fan.
Yeah, I like rugby.
I don't even know what rugby is, other than that I know it's a sport.
Oh, well, it's actually a pretty cool sport. They just don't showcase characters anymore. Everyone's kind of just a regular Joe. They don't have, like, those, I don't know, they just don't have real characters anymore. It's just wrestlers, you know what I mean?
Well, he can still be himself and still add something to the program. I guess he's a
but I like the background
that remains to be seen. Now at least you know a little bit more about him.
That's what I'm saying. You know more about who he is and his background. I like that, you know, they're showing you as a former rugby player and he could, you know, mow some people down. Right?
You got it.
Yeah, you got it, brother.
You got it.
And then there was another promo video played that showcased all 5 competitors that would be in the main event that night, which is last night, whenever you're listening to this. Hyped up the match that would come later on. They did like 30 seconds for each guy, you know, hyping them up in their moves and, you know, cutting little 15-second promos on each guy. But I thought it was cool, you know, to hype up the match later in the night. I think they did well with some of the stuff they did last night to build things up. You know what I mean? Give some layers to what's going on and not just, you know, the main roster where they, you know, they go backstage and as those robots ask them, what do you think about your match tonight?
It was better than having one of those, you know, robotic women stand there and ask questions about things they clearly have no idea what they're asking about. But again, my quorum was you could have had 3 weeks where you had a gimmick match featured every week. Why have 3 in one episode where just nothing stuck to someone's brain by the time it was over? I didn't care for that.
Like Wim.
Well, he's still looking for his brain, yeah. The tag team wild card match that made no sense certainly would have made sense to him, I guess.
Yeah.
He stands there at McDonald's cashing out the French fries. He would have understood that wild card match that made no sense to me.
Obviously, the match that you're talking about is Roderick Strong and Danny Burch defeating Fabian Eichner and Raul Mendoza in a tag team match. The stipulation was that the winning team would later on in the future have their true tag teams, Imperium and Legado del Fantasma, that was the losing team, but I used it as an example.
Great example.
Face each other for the right to become #1 contenders for the NXT tag titles. Obviously, it's going to be Undisputed Era and Danny Burch and whatever their tag team name is. That's why I used 2 real tag team names instead of Undisputed Era and just their names again. I would have much rather seen a #1 contender fatal 4-way match instead of this confusing stipulation, which makes no sense. It was made by Fandango, whatever you want to call him, and William Regal approved it backstage. I don't know. I thought it was a very stupid stipulation.
Well, Fandango's back to being an idiot, which castrates any credibility he has as a tag team champion in a segment that wasn't fun and it wasn't funny, where he was dressed up as Sherlock Holmes. I would guess that when the television ratings come out, that one will be a big win for AEW. Who knows? But as far as the tag team match itself goes, 4 talented guys. Just why be put together with random partners they've never teamed with, so it's not as crisp as it would be under normal circumstances. It's like you said, it would have made a heck of a lot more sense if they just did a fatal four-way tag team match with four regular partners.
Or just do a mini tournament. You can have the four teams face each other in two separate matches, and then, you know what I mean? Do like a tournament style. Then the winner of those two matches then face each other, and then that's the number one contenders. Instead of putting these guys randomly together, having them face each other, and then having their tag teams face each other, it made no sense whatsoever. But I think this is where the show kind of really fell to me, was after this match. I thought that kind of things were going well. I mean, the women's battle royal was what it was, whatever, opener. But then Champa and Atlas I liked. The promotional videos I liked. And then he was kind of building from there. And then the whole tag team gimmick fell apart for me. And then bridging into the second hour, the NXT North American champion Damian Priest defeated Austin Theory in a non-title match. I thought the match was pretty good, entertaining, nothing horrible, nothing great.
My only takeaway from that is, if it was a non-title match and he was going to lose, why not just make it a title match and make the champion look stronger? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was an all right match. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't give him a random title match. I like when people earn the title matches, not just.
He needed to earn the title match. All right. Well, at least they categorized it one way or the other. Usually on the WWE Raw and SmackDown shows, they just have champions wrestle, and unless they specifically say it's a title match, they can win or lose at any time, which is why you see champions get pinned so often on free TV, which is why the championships have no value, and none of the top guys are over like they would have been in yesteryear. But I guess that's a different story for a different time, too.
And then after the match, Johnny Gargano laid out Priest.
That was very believable.
Yeah. They're going to face each other.
A school teacher being assaulted by a second grader. But you know what? It's I'm sure a big program being set up for the takeover event, October the 4th. Yeah.
And yeah, well, they're going to be facing each other at TakeOver for the North American Championship. I think the match quality will be good, but it's not going to be, you have a guy that's 180 pounds or whatever. They could bill him at, 205 if they want to. But he's like 5'5" and like 180 pounds. And then you got Damian Priest, he's not too big, but he's a lot bigger than Gargano. And I don't know. And then Priest is going to be selling. I could already see it right now. Priest is going to be selling for him, and they're going to do the kickouts and the crazy spots and stuff like that. And
the good news is that the fans that watch it each week, they seem to enjoy it presented like that. The only problem is, now that you've had NXT on television weekly for over a year now, there really hasn't been any growth.
Yes. I mean, I think it'll be a good match, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll still nitpick it. Then in the next little promotional video, NXT teased a former NXT champion coming back at TakeOver on October 4th. Some names that were being passed around were Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, and Beau Dallas, because Bobby Roode has been off of TV for a while. He's been locked up in Canada. And there's been rumors and claims that he'll be back on WWE TV soon. So that's a pretty,
Yeah, that's just blockbuster news that Bobby Roode is going to be back on TV soon.
And then
for all the worries they've had about TV ratings, now forget about it. Bobby Roode and his robes are going to be back.
And then Samoa Joe's another name being passed around because he hasn't been on commentary for a few weeks. So that's how that name came up. And then Beau Dallas, he was being talked about because he hasn't been on TV. Well,
I didn't look on the internet rumor mill, but the first thought that popped into my mind was Beau, because he hasn't been seen in eternity. I can't think of his name now. I only know him as Joe Henning. What was his name? Curtis Axel is gone. Someone that needs a fresh coat of paint, someone that hasn't done anything of any meaning, someone that should probably be best kept away from his brother, considering what his brother does, and fans are hip enough to the blade to know that there is relation there. Beau Dallas, I think, is one of the most underrated athletes on the WWE roster. If you watch his work on non-televised events, without the magic of television production and camera shot changes and so on. He's a very, 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 very skilled performer. I think Beau Dallas has so much potential and so much upside, it isn't even funny, and he's never really had a chance to showcase it outside of the time he spent on the main roster being showcased as an idiot. First, when he did that Bo Leave, then he was part of that group of four. I don't even remember what their names were. Just the four undercard guys that were made out to be idiots. I remember Heath Slater, the Social Outcast, that group. Then he was an idiot with Curtis Axel when they were kind of Miz's flunkies.
The Miztourage.
Then they had those T-shirts with the handwritten B's on them, and B team, go, go, go. I just think there are talents out there that are fine for an undercard role like that, but he's never really on television. I've never really looked at him and said, "Wow, this is a guy you could really do something with." But on non-televised events, when he has a chance to go out there and work, he's an exceptional talent.
It's just
Hopefully it's him.
Yeah. Ever since he was called up to the main roster years ago, after he was NXT champion, and he just got ruined. As soon as he got to the main roster, he has done nothing of just anything at all. I think the only thing he's won is just the Raw tag titles with Curtis Axel.
And that's meaningless at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think anyone looks at a big Raw tag team title run that lasts for a month as anything of any meaning. I don't think you could probably run down the past 3 or 4 Raw tag team champions off the top of your head, when back in the quote-unquote good old days, you could go through a decade or two of who the former champions would be in the World Tag Team and Intercontinental. Now they give them away like, condoms at the prom, so to speak.
There you go. And then in the next match, Ridge Holland defeated some jobber. I didn't even get his name.
Antonio DeLuca.
Oh, there he is. Quick fashion. Just a basic jobber match. The jobber really didn't get, or DeLuca, whatever his name was, didn't even get in any offense. So that's a good squash right there. What'd you think of that one?
It was a fine squash match. It accomplished its goal. It made Ridge Holland look big, bad, and indestructible. I think WWE would be better off trying to put a squash match or two on all of their television shows each week. It certainly would not hurt, considering where things stand popularity-wise in 2020. I think if you took the time to get guys over more beyond little promotional videos and vignettes to actually show guys their moves, their move sets, maybe do the little insert 15 to 20-second promo when they're coming out to the ring, I think it'd be something different and it'd be kind of interesting.
He'll be indestructible until he faces Baron Corbin at SummerSlam next year.
Well, that remains to be seen, I guess. We'll have to wait and see.
And then in the next segment, a scrum between NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai, NXT North American Champion Damian Priest, and Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano. Later in the show, they announced a mixed tag match will happen next week between these two teams.
You already set the DVR for that one.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not going to miss it.
Yeah. Then in the main event, Kyle O'Reilly, who actually started the match, defeated Kushida, Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, and Timothy Thatcher in a number 1 contenders Gauntlet Eliminator match for the NXT title, the right to face Finn Balor for it at NXT TakeOver on October 4th. I thought it was a good match. Seemed a little long, about a half hour, but it was still good quality wrestling from, all involved.
As I noted maybe last week when we talked about the match actually happening this week, I think it would have been better off if it was a gauntlet match as opposed to a poor man's elimination chamber that just didn't have the chamber, where they had the random eliminations at any time. But you had some good talent in there. It was a good match. They all executed. They all worked very hard. I just thought it was, I guess if I was going to pick one word, I thought it was overbooked. Kyle O'Reilly, I think, is excellent. He's another one that he gets a very good push on WWE NXT television. But much like I said about Beau Dallas, there's a guy that sometimes when I've seen him in person with my own 2 eyes, as opposed to how, the television production wants me to see the presentation of him. He's an exceptional talent. I could see him as a standout singles, maybe even if he isn't the world's greatest mouthpiece, if they ever brought back managers. I think Kyle O'Reilly, he's a top-tier talent. Maybe he needs to break out of the tag team ranks. Maybe this is going to be great for him to be showcased in the main event of that pay-per-view with Finn Balor for the NXT title. Maybe it'll be a way to set up a little tension between him and Adam Cole over Undisputed Era members wanting that championship belt back.
Well, maybe a fatal four-way between Undisputed Era for the NXT title down the road.
Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah. I don't think some of the men in this match deserve to be in line for a title shot, but with NXT being thin at the top of the roster and the recent COVID outbreak, it left them no choice but to put some new names in this match.
They tried to make a little lemonade out of a lemon.
Yeah, I mean, Kushida, what'd he do? He beat Austin Theory last week. Bronson Reed I liked. He's one of the guys I think should be at the top. Cameron Grimes, what the hell has he done? I mean, nothing of any meaning. Timothy Thatcher, what matches has he won so far? He's lost almost every match he's been in. He's looked like an idiot, challenging everybody and losing the matches. The only people I liked in this match were O'Reilly and Reed. That was it. I think everybody else didn't really even deserve to be in a number one contender spot. But I digress.
It served its purpose. It set up the pay-per-view, the main event for the next quasi pay-per-view October 4th.
Yeah. And then, as I said before, O'Reilly will face Finn Balor for the NXT title at NXT TakeOver on October 4th, and the probable main event there. What did you think of NXT?
I hate to say it sucked, because it wasn't horrible, but I just thought it was overbooked. You had 3 singles matches, and you had 3 gimmick matches. To me, that's just way overbooked. I know they had talents that were sick from coronavirus, but man, it was too much for my brain. It was too busy of a show.
And then sometimes on NXT, you'll get like 8 matches in a night. And then sometimes on SmackDown, you get maybe 3 matches in a night, which are just tag team matches thrown together. So it's just they're just polar opposites of NXT and the main roster. You know, NXT does all the promotional videos. They do the number one contenders matches. You know, they do this stuff right. Sometimes it's overbooked and looks a little indie-ish. But, I mean, on the surface, it looks really good. And then you look at the main roster, and it's all thrown together. There's no number one contenders matches. It's the same shit every week. It's just, that's why NXT is way more watchable than the main roster, because it seems fresher and newer every week. To a certain extent, not as much, a lot more than the main roster. But that's why I gave NXT a 6 out of 10 this week. I
was happy there was only 1 women's match. I think that made the show a little bit better to me, outside of all the gimmick matches.
Yeah. I liked how they advanced storylines as well last night.
Yeah, they did do that, and created some new ones, too, with the crazy wild card tag team match with the random partners.
They tried to advance storylines. They made how many number one contenders, or soon-to-be contenders last night? They just advanced so many storylines, and not that it fully got you ready for TakeOver, but it gave you a little look into what they want to do and how to, build up this TakeOver in a few weeks. Or actually, I think it's in, a week from Sunday. Moving quick in fall here.
I tell you, there's so many pay-per-view watch-alongs, as you call them, that we're going to have. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to blow your socks off,
so many great action-packed pay-per-views to sit through with a grimace on my face. It'll be unbelievable. It's going to be a huge fall.
Yeah. But, I mean, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was
I gave it the same thing, as a matter of fact. I gave it a 6 out of 10 on my rankings. I thought it was a little bit better than average, but just having so many gimmick matches just took away from it.
Yeah. And then for the news and notes section of NXT, there's not much. The only thing I have here, several changes were made to NXT before the show started taping. And the taping for the show yesterday actually finalized about 90 minutes before the show went live to tape on USA Network. Obviously, with this COVID outbreak that NXT is dealing with, it happened in the Performance Center and then just built from there. That's pretty much it for news and notes. I mean, we're only 1 day removed from NXT, so when we do these shows, how much news can you have in not even 24 hours removed.
You just never know. It's different every week, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, I think at this point, you should take a brief time out, let the fans get a beverage, a little snack, and then we'll be back to talk AEW Dynamite.
You got it, brother.
Well, fans, in case you didn't hear me, right now we're going to take a brief time out, and then we'll be back to talk about AEW Dynamite. Wrestling fans, welcome back to our big Thursday double feature after Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. You can look forward to this unbelievable Wrestling Insiders current events where we break down the previous night's WWE NXT, which we already did, as well as AEW Dynamite. Dan Mirade back with Matt Degnan. Matt, what was going on? I don't know, is it Daisy's Place or Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida?
Daly's Place.
Yeah, I guess Daisy's Place must be over at Disney World then. This is Daly's Place, okay.
And they have the nice backdrop of downtown Jacksonville.
They do. I like that venue an awful lot.
It's adjacent to TIA Bank Field where the Jaguars play, and they'll actually be playing tonight against the Dolphins.
Well, as if the night couldn't get any bigger.
So we'll shift into AEW now. We'll open the show as Kip Sabian and Miro, a.k.a. Rusev, defeating Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. I thought the match was just very sloppy and not that good. I thought it was an awful opening match that I just think nobody would care about. Nobody really cares about Janela and Kiss. They have no appeal. I like Sabian and Miro. Miro has some credibility having been in WWE for years. I just don't think I would open with this match at all.
Well, at least Miro didn't have on the pink Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse t-shirt that he had on his introduction.
The only thing I didn't like was those stupid kick pads he had on. I thought those were just kind of stupid and looked dumb.
Well, the purpose of the match, it was an enhancement match to make the two of them look good. It was to give Miro a good introduction. They went over clean. I guess it served its purpose. It's just that tag team they worked with. But
the thing, hang on. But the thing I'm getting at is I wouldn't have it as my opener to the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's something about match placement, and that's one of them. I wouldn't open with an enhancement match.
No. But
then again, look at what was on the other channel at 8 o'clock. I stuck with this one myself.
Yeah. I can't stand Janela or Kiss separately, and they're even worse as a tag team. They don't fit together. Then you have Jim Ross calling Sonny Kiss he and she at the same time.
He did it again?
He did it again. He's calling him he, and then he's saying she, and then she. He goes back and forth. He doesn't know what to call. I don't want to say anything rude here. I'm just criticizing Jim Ross.
Well, let me ask you, mate. I don't even know. Is Sonny Kiss a man, or is he transgender and go by female? I don't know.
No, it's a man that's just very feminine.
He's a man that wears women's makeup. He's kind of like Adrian Street.
Yeah, it still has.
All right.
I
didn't even know that.
He still has all the qualities of a man, I believe. But if you know what I mean. But I just think it's very feminine. But I just
You're right. It's a little much for JR sometimes. He's not sure which direction to go in. And I don't think if he said it would help it either.
All right. Well, let's not go down that street. But I just can't stand Joey Janela. He looks like a goof. He doesn't deserve to be on TV. He's as they say, an indie guy. I don't know why he's on TV. I don't know. He doesn't look the part. He's just not a good wrestler. He's very sloppy.
If you're not going to push him and make him a top guy that's going to stand out, and you have them in the role of an enhancement talent, but he's not going to enhance anyone he's in the ring with, why have him around?
But if he's
an enhancement guy, talent, should be someone that enhances who he's in the ring with, not takes away from it.
He takes away from it, and I don't know. I just can't see him even being an enhancement talent because he looks nothing like a wrestler. And he gets in way too much offense to be an enhancement talent. We've talked about this on previous shows of, these AEW enhancement matches. The guys that you're trying to enhance are selling way too much. And then I almost fell out of my chair because you have Rusev or Miro, whatever you want to call him, selling for Sonny Kiss, and I don't know why they would ever have that happen. If I was Miro, I'm not selling for Sonny Kiss out.
It's an It's just like with Jack Swagger last week. You have a guy that's an MMA badass, a collegiate champion wrestler, and he's in the ring selling for a guy that Jim Ross can't figure out if he should call a man or a woman. I mean, honestly, that's the point it's gotten to.
I don't know. I don't know why anybody's selling for Sonny Kiss or Joey Janela. Their offense does not look believable. They don't get the job done as enhancement talents because it looks like their punches, wouldn't even hurt my grandmother.
That match would have been best served if Miro went in, killed the both of them for 3 or 4 minutes, then tagged in Sabian, let him hit his finish 1, 2, 3, and then Sabian tries to look like the champion of the group to get a little bit more heel heat on him since he needs it, since Miro's already established out of the two of them. That's how I would have put the match together, but you know what? Believe it or not, they didn't text me and ask me what the finish should be.
No.
I just think that would have...
You're too busy at the drive-in movies.
It would have had served the purpose, in my opinion. Much better than what they did. As I've said before, I'll say it again. I think if Kip Sabian can get a little thicker and look more dangerous in the ring when he's doing those wrestling moves, I think this is a guy with tremendous upside potential. And again, Miro comes from the credibility as being a guy that's been in featured matches at WrestleMania before, and you can't throw too much stupidity on them, as then you start to take away the credibility. Like, I would not have had the man wear the Mickey Mouse T-shirt the first week he was in there, and I certainly would not have him, going even Steven with Sonny Kiss in his. I believe this was Miro's first match, was it not?
Yeah, it was his in-ring debut.
So this was his in-ring debut. I would not have had him selling moves for Sonny Kiss that Jim Ross can't figure out if he should say is a man or a woman.
But as we move on, Eddie Kingston cuts another great promo as soon as the tag team match ends. He always knows what to say on the microphone and is one of the best promos in professional wrestling, in my opinion, and a lot of other fans' opinions. Kingston built up his AEW title match later that night with John Moxley. Moxley then came out to confront him, but then they were broken up by the referees and then went right to commercial break. Seemed very WWE-esque right there. I don't know why you'd have Moxley come out right there. I guess if you're trying to build the match, but you don't want to have them, go face-to-face at the beginning of the show and then fight each other later in the night.
Well, as long as there wasn't a big physical contact, that wasn't a problem. They had to try and get the match over where they advertised a different main event all week that got scrapped due to the Lance
but they could have done that. But I wouldn't have had Moxley come out. That's just my opinion. I would have just had Kingston cut the promo, mic drop, then go to break.
I wasn't opposed to that. I was actually opposed to having him as the opponent, but I guess that's a different story for a different time.
I was going to talk about that in the main event.
We'll get there once we get to the main event, yeah.
Yeah. Hangman Adam Page defeated Evil Uno. Oh, I got notes for this one, baby. Kenny Omega was on commentary for this match. Match was way longer than it should have been. There was no need to have Page take this long to beat a nobody like Evil Uno, selling for him way too much. I don't know why they had this match go 10, 15 minutes when it shouldn't have been no longer than 5 minutes. They made Evil Uno look like he could actually defeat a top guy in the company by having him go back and forth, and then to have Evil Uno have help on the outside and have Hangman Adam Page, it didn't need to be done that way at all, but it seems to happen way too much with AEW, that type of bullshit.
Again, you have Hangman Page, who they're trying to push as one of their elite top stars. You have this Evil Uno, who's part of the Dark Order, a gimmick faction that hasn't enhanced anyone. It hasn't advanced one iota in a year. None of them are particularly good. I wouldn't book Evil Uno on one of our live events if he was free. Page should be in there with guys that are going to accentuate his jump to superstardom, not have him wrestling indie-looking job guys that just take away from the good things that he does in the ring. I don't understand what purpose that Evil Uno serves in professional wrestling in any way, shape, or form.
They were trying to make it an enhancement match, But when you're having Paige,
they were not trying to make an enhancement match. An enhancement match would not be booked to go that long.
If I finished, I might have got my point across. They were trying to make it an enhancement match, but the way it came off to me was it wasn't at all. I mean,
it was not an enhancement match. Evil Uno isn't an enhancement guy. He's someone that's just, for better or worse, he's someone that they've established as part of their program.
To me, he is not part of the. That might be what they. This is what I'm talking. I'm talking about it from their perspective, what they're trying to do, and how I perceive it. I perceive Evil Uno. He's just a goof. He's not a good wrestler. Maybe in a tag team format, he's better. But to be doing singles competition with Adam Page, who they want to have as a top guy, to me, it's an enhancement match for Page to have him go up against a guy who's primarily been in a faction and in tag team matches. So to me, it was an enhancement match. It's just no way.
You need to understand what an enhancement match is. That's when you put someone in the ring with no credibility, no background, and their only job is there to be out there is to go out there, take the moves, and then take the 3 count. Evil Uno, for what you may think of him and what I may think of him, has been an established character on that television show for a year.
Just because
that is not an enhancement match. You need to understand what the term is. I
understand, but what has he done? Has he even won a match on AEW? He's done nothing of any credibility. I don't even know.
He's made me want to change the channel just about every time I've seen him.
Even if it's not an enhancement match, that match still went way too long.
Way too long. You're right.
But even if it's not an enhancement match, it still went way too long, and you had Hangman Adam Page doing way too much to even enhance Evil Uno at all. It's just, even if it's not an enhancement match, to me, it's just...
Hangman Page was unenhanced by having to go 15 minutes to defeat Evil Uno.
That's what I'm trying to say. It took more away from Page than it did adding to him. But whatever. Brody Lee retained his TNT title over Orange Cassidy. I can't stand Cassidy, and I know you can't either.
Correct.
I don't like him competing for titles at all. Just isn't believable. Lee took way too long to take out a joke like Cassidy. How can a goof like freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy be a threat to any title at all? What has he done? Beat Jericho in a mimosa match and threw him into a pool of mimosas? Hey, come on. How has he earned any title shot at all? He's done nothing. I mean, I know they're trying to push him as a top guy in the company, but come on. It's just... And then you have him go out there and face a guy who's 2-3 times his size, and they're going to go toe-to-toe like it's the main event of, like, you know, a big pay-per-view. Come on.
Well, as I typed in here, I wrote, Luke Harper left WWE for this with about 15 question marks next to it. For him to even sell anything for a guy whose kicks wouldn't break an egg, not only because they're not effective, but they're deliberately made to look that bad. It makes him look like a joke. Not only that, but you set up a post-match angle where you have the return of Cody Rhodes, who's the Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin of the company. So all of a sudden, this guy that couldn't destroy Orange Cassidy, what kind of a threat is he going to be to Cody Rhodes as the top guy? It reminded me of a story between Triple H and Booker T at SummerSlam 2007. And all the supposed smart people in the world, they buried Triple H because Triple H gave Booker T nothing. Triple H treated Booker T like a jobber. Well, if you actually looked at the big picture, which was the lead up to the SummerSlam 2007 pay-per-view, Booker T was King Booker at that point, and he was in a feud, or not, well, kind of a little mini television feud with Jerry Lawler over Kingdom. And maybe a week, I don't remember the exact timeline, but a week or two before SummerSlam, Booker T had a match with Jerry Lawler, and he went over clean, but he sold for Jerry Lawler. So, Triple H going into his comeback match, he was injured in early 2007, I believe. At the first pay-per-view, it was him and Shawn Michaels against Randy Orton and Edge. And I don't remember if he tore his quad or what his injury was at that point. But Triple H was out from January of 07 through August of 07 because he missed WrestleMania 23.
Was that his pectoral muscle?
I don't remember off the top of my head. But the moral of the story is Triple H is coming back after 8 months, and he says, okay, and his mindset is, okay, I'm going to go into a match and sell for a guy that had a hard time beating a 60-year-old Jerry Lawler. So, no, Triple H took 90% of the match, hit the pedigree, went over clean, 1, 2, 3, and that was the story. So I don't think Triple H should have had any kind of backlash from anyone. I think it was just logical thinking. If Booker T couldn't polish off a 60-year-old out-of-shape-looking Jerry the King Lawler, how believable would it have been for Triple H to have come back and look weak to him? And I think Cody Rhodes, same thing. I think Cody Rhodes looks weak going into a feud with a guy that could barely beat a man that throws kicks, again, that wouldn't hurt a 3-year-old.
That's why I had in my notes, it took him way too long to take out a joke like Cassidy. It made no sense. And then as you stated, Cody, now with black hair, returned after the match and took out the Dark Order.
Now he means business because he's got the dark hair.
Yeah. Who were at ringside for the match. Looks like we'll be getting a rematch for the TNT title between Brody Lee and Cody, this time in a dog collar match.
What kind of a collar match?
Dog collar.
I enjoyed the way you said dog.
Yeah. This gimmick match, it's just so stupid because I think the dog collar part of it is... See, now I'm trying to say it correct so you don't make fun of me, and then it sounds stupid because I'm hearing it in my head, and it just sounds stupid. The dog collar is dumb.
Honestly, I don't think a dog collar match is dumb. If it's done right, they can be violent and brutal. But again, you know what? If you're trying to look at it with any sort of common sense, here's the thing. Did Brody Lee know that Cody Rhodes was going to come back and do that run-in? No. So how is it that Brody Lee knew within 30 seconds of that match ending that he needed to have a dog collar somewhere in the vicinity of his bag, his locker room, wherever it is that he may have been, to have ready for a man he didn't know was returning? That I don't know. I can't answer that question. Maybe he had Ellen Damsky with him, and Ellen told Brody to expect Cody Rhodes. He said, you know what? The one way I'm going to get Cody Rhodes is with this dog collar.
But usually you see those type of dog collar, Samoan strap, Russian chain. You usually get that when someone's running away from someone or avoiding them or not wanting to face them.
Or a second match in a feud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but no one's running away from anybody here. Lee and Cody already had their match. Lee killed him and won the title. Cody came back to challenge Lee. If you didn't want to challenge him, why would he show up in that segment?
I think Cody should have been the one to introduce the dog collar, saying, you know what? You might have all 15 of these Dark Order people around you, but you know what? You're not going to get away from me. We're going to be attached neck to neck on the next pay-per-view.
No. I would have much rather done a steel cage match to keep everybody out.
Well, if they wanted to go the route of the dog collar, I think that would have been suffice.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll say this. The AEW steel cage is eons better than what WWE has for a steel cage.
Yeah.
I love the AEW steel cage. That is one thing that AEW does right. I love their steel cage. So now you're making me want to see a steel cage match. Thanks.
That's what I'm saying. I would have much rather seen Cody and Brody Lee go at it in a steel cage for the TNT title than a dog collar match. Are you kidding? I don't know.
What kind of a collar match?
Dog collar match. But it makes more sense to keep the Dark Order out and have them in there. Because it would keep them contained and Dark Order out. Instead of having them contained and Dark Order still at ringside, because then the dog collar means nothing. If they're going to be chained together, Dark Order can still get involved. So I don't know. It didn't really make sense to me because no one's running away from anybody. But that's why when Daniel Bryan, when he challenged The Fiend to that strap match at Royal Rumble, it was so The Fiend couldn't, crawl under the ring or, disappear like he does.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, an interesting. It should be done in the right cases, but I don't know why it's a dog collar. Why is it a dog collar? I don't know.
My uneducated guess is that they just want to try and do something a little different. If it was I that was mapping it out, I would have just had them have a straight singles match on the first pay-per-view, and then if they wanted to continue the feud, go the route of a gimmick match, either on the follow-up pay-per-view or a big blockbuster TV special. One man's opinion.
Just have Dark Order get involved, and then you do a steel cage match. It's simple and it's easy. They've had one steel cage match, and that was in February when Cody faced Wardlow in that steel cage match, and it was actually pretty good. So they haven't done one in a while, so I wouldn't mind them doing it again for this feud, but whatever. As we move into another promo, Matt Hardy and Private Party, I really don't like this pairing of Hardy and Party. Hardy and Party.
Correct.
It's a Hardy Party. It's
Private
just,
Hardy, maybe they should call it.
Well, there's something private about it. But one week they're together doing promos or segments. The next week they're not even together. The next week they're together. Then they're not seen together for months. And then all of a sudden they're back together. I don't really get it. They don't go together at all. I get Matt Hardy's a mentor of them, but have him be a mentor backstage off camera. You don't need him with them every time they're cutting a promo. He doesn't need to be out there with them. I don't know. The pairing doesn't make sense. It was randomly put together.
I think they're trying to give Private Party credibility as a tag team of the future. That's
I get
my
that
guess.
part of it.
I don't even know if that's the case. That's just the way I look at it through my eyes.
But just shoving Matt Hardy next to them and having them just cut promos together, it makes no sense at all. I get what they're trying to do.
There's not a lot of chemistry, I'll say that much.
That's what I'm saying. I get what they're trying to do, but the way I'm perceiving it is not the way how they're pushing it. But they can do what they want. Hardy says
I'll say this, I'd rather see Matt Hardy in that role than wrestling at this point.
I would like to see it for the right people, though. But
Matt has looked broken for the better part of a decade. We're not talking about the gimmick.
Hardy says he was attacked by a masked assailant last week.
Another one of those.
Claims Chris Jericho is his prime suspect now.
Maybe it was retribution. You think maybe they ran over to Daly's place?
Maybe it was T-Bar. Inner Circle comes out.
Or whatever their names are. Oh.
Mace. Inner Circle came out to interrupt the promo by Hardy. Jericho claims it was not him last week that attacked Hardy. Isaiah Cassidy then challenged Chris Jericho to a match next week on Dynamite, which will happen. What do you think about that match next week between Cassidy and Jericho?
I actually like it. They're making a non-pay-per-view quality main event match seem important. They're taking a guy that's in a tag team, one of their tag teams of the future that has an awful lot of potential. They're going to put him in there with one of their, their top singles heel. Jericho will make him look very good before he goes over in the end. I think it's a great idea. I think it will give Cassidy, and I think it'll give Private Party a little bit of credibility. They come across, to me, as good as they are, almost as like they're a little bit too much fun. Maybe this will bring out a more serious side of them working with Jericho. I don't know, but I think it's a good attempt. On paper, I think it's a great idea. I think it was one of the better parts of the show.
Well, I don't want to repeat everything you said, but I second what you said, so I'm in agreement. AEW Tag Champions FTR with Tully Blanchard are interviewed by Tony Schiavone. Say they've chosen to defend their titles next week against SCU, but say it is going to be a 20-minute time limit instead of 60 minutes. If SCU cannot beat them in that amount of time, then a win is issued to FTR. What do you think of that stipulation or gimmick, whatever you want to call it?
I don't think... I guess I'm fine with it. It doesn't really stand out as exciting to me. It doesn't stand out as anything I roll my eyes at. I thought Tully Blanchard was very good in his execution. It's very sad that a little cocaine derailed that man's career by 30 years when he left WWF in 1989 and lost a big WCW contract. I think he's been very effective in the role as a manager in AEW. I don't know if he had great chemistry with Sean Spears right off the bat, but I love the matching jackets that he has with FTR. It reminds me of what Bobby Heenan used to wear with the Brainbusters, which were Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson back in the late 80s. I thought they did a good job setting the plate. The FTR is excellent in the ring. They little work on the promos, and I think it's great to have a guy like Tully that's not only a good mouthpiece, but a guy that has nothing but credibility considering the career that he had up until 1989, to do a little bit of the talking for them. It made the match come across as important. It made the stipulation come across as important. It made the, not to steal a line from Michael Cole, but it made the stipulation seem almost vintage. I hope it's the two members of Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, because I think they're excellent together as SCU. Christopher Daniels, to me, is
It'll probably be Daniels and Kazarian, because if you remember, in a past Dynamite where FTR went at SCU for being, older talent, and plus Scorpio Sky's being more of a singles competitor now, so he's not really with the other two as much. He has his own theme music and he's off doing his own thing,
and that might be for the best. He's a younger, fresher talent as opposed to those two that are in their early to mid 40s.
Yeah,
but it'll be a really good match. I have a feeling you're going to see the 20-minute time limit play into effect somewhere in there, maybe to build to a rematch for the when's the next pay-per-view? November the 7th. So they do have some time to fill between now and November. I could see that being a TV program for FTR before they get to the good stuff in early November.
Yeah. Best Friends interrupted the interview and say they want to face FTR with that 20-minute time limit challenge, but FTR says no and walks out of the ring.
Well, you know what? I actually said no with them at home, so that was a good idea.
Yeah. Anything else to add to that interview segment?
I'm just glad they didn't go right into a match, which I thought they were going to.
I thought that was good. When they came out and they said they wanted to do it, and I just said, this is going to ruin a good segment. Yeah, but then they said no and walked off, and I said, oh, good.
And it made FTR look like heels, which is a nice thing, too, as opposed to just going right into the match. Yeah, again, people seem to rant and rave about that street fight they had last week, which I was indifferent towards. I thought it was a really good brawl, but it was a brawl involving two guys that have been presented like two complete and utter idiots for a year, which isn't going to hold my interest, and I would have had zero interest in seeing that match last night, too, unless the mother was going to drive the winners away in the minivan. Maybe Tully could have taken the mother for a ride. Go back to the old Horseman days.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Then in the next segment, I know this one was your favorite, AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida and NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa defeated Ivelisse and Diamante. Match started off hot with Ivelisse and Diamante attacking Rosa and Shida. The match quality wasn't too hot, though. Would probably be on the cold side. Send it back to the kitchen, because this match was not that good. I'll tell you that. Nothing wrong with the women themselves. As you always say, they put in work, but it's still women's wrestling at the end of the day. As the problems in the past, Rosa and Ivelisse and Diamante and all these women, in the past couple weeks, there's been, some news coming out that they've been shooting on each other. They don't like each other. They're not selling for each other. And some of these women missed their spots, were forgetting what they were supposed to be doing in this match. Just very sloppy, and a lot of stuff that was missed.
At least it was quick.
Well,
that's my takeaway from it. At least it was quick. I think
that's the only plus. Then in the next little segment backstage, Chris Jericho and MJF jerk each other off in a backstage segment where they compliment each other to the extreme. I think I don't know.
I think that's going to be a long-term issue that plays out. I like the slow build with that.
Yeah, I have that in my notes. I said, could they be hinting at... Yeah, I said, could they be hinting at MJF joining the Inner Circle to then have, him kind of turn on Jericho and give him the middle finger, and then have them do a match, later in the year, or maybe the beginning of next year, however long they want to, do this long-term build-up to, MJF finally joining and then saying no. Are they going to do a match where if Chris Jericho wins, MJF joins the group? I don't know what they want to do, but I think it's a good start to a long-term type of, feud.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. It has held my interest so far.
Well, we'll see how that factors in next Wednesday. Jon Moxley defeated Eddie Kingston to retain his AEW title. I think Kingston is great on the mic, but in the ring, he looks out of shape. And
then the bell rings, yeah.
Yeah.
If you were blind, you'd think Eddie Kingston was a very effective professional wrestler.
He just isn't that great of a wrestler. He just doesn't look the part. Here's the thing. He doesn't look the part, but he acts the part, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was a very physical main event. Just a lot of slaps and punch. It was physical. It had a kind of New Japan feel to it.
Yeah, that was the one thing I thought. I said, you know what? I really feel like I'm watching a little New Japan right now with Daly's place.
To me, it had a little New Japan feel to it, and a lot of people were saying, "Well, I say I liked it?" But my next note here, it says, "Pretty boring title main event." Ended with Moxley putting Kingston to sleep with the sleeper hold, and then as soon as he put him to sleep, the first thing those announcers said, "Technically, he didn't pin or submit him; he made him go to sleep." I already know what they're trying to do with Kingston. He wasn't eliminated from the Battle Royal. He technically wasn't beat in the main event. He was put to sleep or whatever they want to call it. So I already know they're going to try to do this bullshit with Kingston where he was never beat. It's always been his true title shot. Da-da-da-da-da. He was never put out. Whatever.
Well, it wasn't exactly Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 on the memorability scale.
I don't know. And then the Lucha Bros take out Moxley after the match, but Will Hobbs and Darby Allin came out to help Mox. Ricky Starks then came out and then hits Allin with, did you see that spear that Starks hit Allin with?
Yeah.
That was a good spear. I like that.
I think, again, as I mentioned about Kip Sabian, if Ricky Starks can get a little thicker, there's a guy that has the tools to be a top-tier heel for a long, long time.
Yeah, I like Starks. He has a lot of charisma, and I like that.
Yeah.
Taz, Lucha Bros, Ricky Starks, and Eddie Kingston
just way overbooked. Way overbooked.
Are left standing tall at the end of the episode, and as I was just about to say, there was way too much going on. As soon as that bell rang, just one person ran out, another person ran out, this person, that person, this person, that person. At what point do you start thinking, who else from the roster is coming out, and why didn't they start fighting backstage before the match? Because it's just at some point you got to start thinking these guys had to have all been in close proximity backstage if they're all coming out within 10 seconds of each other, which no one really got over in this ending main event segment. It's just a bunch of fighting people who have really nothing to do with each other other than, some segments from last week, but still it's just there's been no built up booking for any of these guys that have anything to do with each other. I don't know, but
I know I can be tough on WWE's booking sometimes and the presentation and such, especially with Retribution the past few weeks, but very seldom do you see matches laid out anywhere near this confusing on a WWE show of any brand as you do on AEW a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And there were several matches that fall into that category. Everything that involved the Dark Order this week, which was a couple of matches. Then you had this main event, the schmaz at the end of the main event. It's too much.
I think this was one of the worst AEW episodes that they've had. If you run opening tag match sucked. The promo by Kingston was good. Paige and Uno wasn't that good. Was longer than it should have been. Lee and Cassidy, just not good at all. The Hardy and Private Party promo, not that good, but I liked the end game in it. FTR promo, that was really the only segment I liked, was the FTR promo.
Two interview segments were the highlight of the show.
It's insane. I gave the episode a 4 out of 10.
You know what? Wow. We both matched this week. I gave it a 4 too. I'll say this, if we want to make AEW, maybe to give them props, it was a lot better than Raw.
A lot better than, I don't think that's saying much. But
and the funny thing is, out of Raw, AEW, and NXT, if you combined our 3 scores, they barely reach a 10, 3 shows combined. So what does that say about the state of wrestling this week? We can only hope the Thunderdome in Orlando erupts Friday night for SmackDown.
I don't think that will be the case, but we can have wishful thinking.
You never know.
For our show on whatever day we're going to do it, whenever it's going to air. As we move into the news and notes section, really the only thing I have coming out, not even 24 hours later, is AEW was also hit with a COVID outbreak. Reason for some absent talent over the past month. They had to do a big rewrite of last night's episode and change them. And it showed a lot. It looked a lot of thrown together bullshit. And it showed. And it also, it didn't feel like a regular episode for either show last night. at all. NXT, I would say, was average at best, and AEW was below average, and that's at best. Just two shows that had to be rewritten and move around, and I don't know, just didn't feel good last night in the wrestling, community or world, or as Michael Cole said, universe.
The wrestling community was a little sad with the loss of Road Warrior Animal, Joe Laurinaitis, who we're going to be talking about in the coming days with a much more fitting tribute than slapped into a AEW and NXT review show. I think it's sad that neither company could have spent a little bit more time trying to pay tribute to the man. That's one man's opinion. I'm sure WWE may choose to on one of the main brand shows, but for someone that has such a legacy in this sport as Animal to be almost an afterthought on two shows that weren't that good to begin with, I think that's disappointing.
I got a question for you. What do you think of AEW doing the tribute to him at the beginning of the show?
Did they?
They did like that little thing that WWE does, the RIP.
The little 5-second graphic.
Yeah.
Well, he worked with them. Well, he worked the first show they did. I don't know. It technically wasn't AEW at that point, but he's a wrestling legend. I mean, that'd be like saying, would you be opposed to the Red Sox having a graphic to a Yankee that passed away? To me, it's all the same genre. It's all the same brotherhood. He deserves a tribute on every wrestling show with everything that he contributed to professional wrestling. And parts
because I think the same, but as I was reading the comments on some posts and stuff like that, people were complaining like he was never in AEW. He didn't,
They're
work
just
with
people that don't understand what our business is all about.
Yeah, and it's just people were saying that, he wasn't in the company. Why are you giving him a tribute? I was reading stuff along the lines of that, and I thought it was just idiotic.
No, I have a lot to say about him, but I just want to save it for the proper format and the proper show, which we'll get to over the weekend.
So you say different story for a different day.
Yeah.
Then the viewership for this week.
Here we go. Drum roll, baby.
Do you know what it is?
I have no idea.
All right, well, let's start doing this. We'll have you guess it.
I'm going to guess AEW won by 200,000 people.
How many do you think?
200,000.
Won by 200,000?
Correct.
Under that. But
all right, well.
How many viewers do you think AEW got?
850.
835.
Wow. All right, I did all right on that one.
Now,
and the reason I expected it to be down a bit was because they did that Tuesday night show that I didn't watch and I forgot all about.
They actually did a pretty good number for that.
I understand that, but I'm in my mind, I'm going to think that took away
I know
just
that.
a little bit.
I'm just stating they did a good number.
No, they did. You're right. What was NXT?
Take a guess, brother.
725.
696.
Well, you can't win them all.
Yeah, so it was 100,000 plus, but I think it's a good number for NXT because they weren't doing that good the past couple weeks. But I think it's a good bounce back number for them. AEW, still a strong number for them as well. I think it was a good week for both.
No, the shows might not have been good, but at least the ratings.
The viewership was good. The shows themselves were not that good, but what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? All right. Well, as we wind down yet another very interesting episode, was there anything more from the world of AEW to add?
No, that was it. As I said before, it's only not even 24 hours removed, so there's not too much news coming out.
Wrestling fans, if you want to be prepared to enjoy some wrestling shows that do not suck, boy, do we have a week ahead for you. If you missed it earlier tonight, it is Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty Jannetty, where Marty looks at the World Wrestling Federation in 1988. He talks $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase as a top guy. There's some stories about Sid Vicious, cocaine and naked women in Philadelphia, Raven and Ring Rats, Vanna White of Wheel of Fortune fame, and more. Then tomorrow night at 10 p.m., right after SmackDown and each and every week, it's a fabulous Friday night with John Cena Sr., where Johnny shoots on Roman Reigns' heel turn. Brock Lesnar is a free agent. Even his almost daughter-in-law and her sister, the Bella Twins, must hear commentary then. over the weekend, we're going to have more TV reviews. We're going to have that big watch-along stream during WWE Clash of the Champions Sunday night at 7 p.m. And then at 11 p.m. after the pay-per-view, be a little bit of strutting, a little bit of cutting, is it's a Wrestling Insider special edition with Brutus, the Barber, Beefcake in studio. We got those clips several mornings a week at 10 a.m. on the YouTube, which is exploding right now, all leading into the return of the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, each and every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Boy, do we have a lot going on here in Boston Wrestling, even if we don't have any live event news.
Well, I'd like to say I'm looking forward to Clash of Champions, but I don't think it's going to be too hot this Sunday. But I hope the fans still join us. I mean,
we'll have fun either way.
Yeah, it's better entertainment than just sitting there watching it by yourself.
Right. Watch with friends.
Watch it with two pals, and then you can join in on the convo with other fans as well.
There you go.
Complain about
I can't kayfabe the glasses though, or I can't. The laptop, the text isn't big enough for my eyes.
Yeah.
All right, well, Matt Sox, it was a pleasure to have you again. Friday night, 10 p.m. right after SmackDown. Join us for Fabulous Fridays. If you missed Party with Marty earlier, it's available on YouTube. Hopefully Saturday night we'll get together to talk a little bit of SmackDown. How's that sound?
Yeah.
All right, folks, until we speak again, you and yours, be well, stay healthy.